Hello, and welcome back to our playthrough of Escape Velocity Nova. We're going to be continuing with the Polaris campaign. So last episode we got this wonderful new scarab, although if we go into our ship extras, you see that it is still pretty bare bones. We have yet to trick it out with all the nice things we like to have, such as the Sigma shipyard upgrades, and the horizontal booster, vectored thrust, and port and polish required on all of our ships. So before we do anything else, let's go and do that. And thanks to our multi-jump organ, it's not actually going to take that much time to do it. The best place to get the vectored thrusts, as we all know, is Tautha. So let's go there first. And we should be able to get there in only 2 jumps, I believe. So let's see. Yep, we get to Tickle, and then to Tautha. I tell you, it is pretty slick having this multi-jump organ. Really makes life much easier. So now we have that. The port and polish, I think, is going to be easiest to get from the kind of rough and tumble system above Cania, Altair. And there's an asteroid there that sells illegal equipment. Like, that's where you would go to get the ion cannon. And I think that they usually have the port and polish, so we're going to try there. Let's also blow up this pirate manticore, because it'd be fun to show off. Oh, right, we don't have an afterburner yet. We're not going to catch him. Oh well, back to 2x speed. That's a shame. Okay, so let's try to get both that port and polish and an afterburner. So there's the port and polish. We don't need the sensor boost because we can get the Polaris version, which is far superior. But let's get that afterburner. Afterburners are pretty standard, and they're offered in most every outfitter, although it's going to prove me a fool and not have it here is what it looks like. So let's just try to get it up from Rebel 2. And then we'll be fully outfitted for the time being. I know, we don't have any Sigma upgrades, and that's going to be a little bit of an issue, because that electrical rewiring and engine tune-up are just so nice to have, but we just simply don't have the scratch for it. We don't have the credits. Hopefully that will change as we do some more Polaris missions, because usually they pay pretty well. And if nothing else, we can always also either blow up some ships, or board some ships rather, or alternatively, we can do some trading. The multi-jump organ makes it pretty easy to do some very lucrative trading, seeing as the entire jump sequence of 10 jumps only takes 2 days, meaning you're not paying those heavy freighter ships for more than 2 days, ideally, per trip back and forth from your end and beginning planets. We would just have to think of a nice profitable route. We could use the route here in Polaris space, which is technically not in the most recent patch of the game. But that's neither here nor there. Let's get back to the story. Before you even enter the bar, you can sense the tightly controlled weaves of a slightly worried Miranda. You observe her without disturbing the ebb and flow around her, and when you sit down at her table, she looks up with surprise. How did you get so close without disturbing the weaves? She asks, slightly startled. You smile quietly and jump between her weaves and twist them around her. You really are Ory'Hara, she whispers in awe. I had heard that Master Rondo had said that you had moved beyond his capacity to teach, but I could hardly believe such a thing in so little time. He is possibly the greatest warrior in our history, and for him to admit that you could master him if you choose is almost unbelievable. But now I see that he was only speaking the truth. She shakes herself for a moment, recovering. The actual reason I'm here is to ask for your help again, she tells you sheepishly. We need someone to scout Auroran space. Interested? Of course we are. That sounds like fun. I knew I could count on you, she gushes, happy again. She waves over a black-garbed Mohari and a grey-cloaked warrior, whom you instantly recognize. Allow me to introduce Miss Senton, and I believe you and Drengar were both students under Rondo. You nod respectively to Miss Senton, and greet Drengar with a warm smile and a strong warrior's handshake. As you all know, Miranda continues quietly, the Aurorans have been very active as of late, and we are getting a little suspicious of what's going on. I went and had a chat with my old friend Eamon Flanagan, and he told me that similar incidents have been happening along the Federation border as well. He also suggested we make contact with the Decta Cars, who he also called the Rimmertons, and the Heron House. Now, we have no idea where to go make contact with either of these groups, she explains carefully, so it's up to you to find them, and then open talks with them. I suggest that you start by heading south, perhaps to Kunjo in the Sender system, and ask for further directions from there. Alright, yeah, we'll just roll up into the Auroran system, land on one of their forward operating bases into Polaris space, and ask for directions. And you know, that is actually exactly what we're going to do. So let's first get a little bit of protective equipment on our ship. We don't have that much money to spend, but we can at least get some of the more basic things. And I'm not going to bother helping out with that Marauder. He is not going to last long enough for it to matter. Now, there's Spun Diamond and Organic Shield. We're going to get some Organic Shield. The Spun Diamond is the hull upgrade. The Organic Shield is just the shield upgrade. There's also a smaller version of the Organic Shield, which doesn't seem to be offered right at the moment, but if I take off and land again, I bet we can find it. Yeah, this one. And so I think we're going to get the larger of the two, although now that I'm looking at this, I'm starting to wonder which is actually the better one. Let's read the blurbs. So, Organic Shield. We strive always to ensure that we achieve the balance of a true warrior, explains a gray-cloaked Nilkamoria warrior. And our ships, when we fly into battle with them, must become extensions of ourselves, and must therefore be balanced also. If we wield great weapons of destruction, we must also have excellent protection, as they will become a target by the enemy. The Organic Shield increases the restorative power of our shields, allowing us to maintain our balance. Okay, so that seems to imply this increases the rate at which your shields recharge. And then you have the shield organelles, I guess. As with all Polaris ships, everything is now bioengineered, including the organs that produce the particle shielding. However, like everything else they do, the Varash have the capacity of growing new organs to either heal existing damage on ships or add a new organ to the ship, enhancing its capabilities. If more shielding is wanted, then they can cause your ship to grow more shield organelles to accommodate you. So we could just get one of these for 750,000 credits, but that's kind of a tall order. On second thought, oh, we can't even afford the cloaking organ. Second thought, we might just get neither. But I think it'd be important to maintain a certain amount of funds for when we come back and then have to make some money via trading. You do need some initial capital. So I think we'll just jump off from here. And we're going to try our hardest not to lose our mantas right away, because when we jump into the system in proper Auroran fashion, there is going to be someone at least waiting for us. True enough, there is this duelist, which is an Auroran cruiser. We're just going to let our mantas do the work and try to land before any reinforcement fleets show up. Alright, that was actually pretty smooth. You spend the days in hyperspace training with both Drengar and Mycetin, who both seem eager to learn from you. You begin to realize that you're becoming something of a role model to most Polarans, and that quite a number of them have begun to emulate you. As you pilot your beloved Ory'Hara into dock, you cannot help but shake your head at the idea that you should be an object of such reverence. Your reverie is interrupted when you sense the weaves of 10 very hostile men waiting for you outside your ship. Both you and Drengar exchange glances and immediately head for the hatch. You both step out to see 10 fiercely tattooed Auroran warriors who immediately spring to attack. You are almost surprised at how little effort you have to spend in stepping between their weaves and upsetting their attack plan. In a few short, graceful seconds, you remain standing in a pool of blood with 8 dead bodies lying around you. Well, that's pretty brutal. Drengar bows in awe of your abilities, and the watching Aurorans all look momentarily stunned at the speed at which you dealt with your challengers. Eventually, one of the onlookers steps forward and addresses you in Auroran, which you do not understand. Don't worry, Mycetin mutters as he brushes past you. This is where I begin to make myself useful. He begins talking with the Auroran warrior who spoke to you, and as he does so, you find yourself falling into an almost hypnotic trance as you observe the weaves around them and listen to their conversation. Almost immediately, you begin to pick up on the general meaning of the words being spoken. You shake yourself out of it when Mycetin turns back to you. They have offered to show me the exact location of the planet Rimerta on a map they have in the library, he tells you quietly. Meet me in the bar in an hour, and I should be able to tell you where our next stop is. Alright, we're also going to buy a map. I think we are given one as part of the mission, but I'm just going to do it to be safe. You twist a weave around Drengar to get his attention when you sense the approach of Mycetin and a couple of Auroran warriors. They enter the bar and make their way over to you. Both the warriors have eagerness written into the weaves around them. They have graciously given us the location of the planet Rimerta to help guide us on our way, announces Mycetin as he sits down. They have also given us a map of the local area to help us speed our way over the initial journey. You nod, wondering why Mycetin needed a warrior escort to tell you this. They wanted to see the man who honored their battle brothers by using them to prove his worth as a warrior, Mycetin explains after you raise a subtle weaving, questioning their presence. They have fought the Nilkamoria before, and they acknowledge them as perhaps the strongest warriors in the universe, but they have never seen your like, Ory'Hara. Well then. I wanted to meet the man who did my battle brothers the honor of showing them his full strength, announces the larger of the two heavily muscled warriors. I am Drekma, and I greet you in peace. I am Hekik, begins the other warrior, and I too wanted to show my respect. They both nod their heads in a respectful motion before taking their leave and walking away. You seem to have made something of an impression, Drengar comments wryly. It's a good thing we're trying to keep this low-key. Otherwise, we might have had to go around begging to get some attention. Haha. You chuckle at his humor before downing the rest of your drink and getting up. Taking their cue from you, both of the Polaris also stand up, and the three of you make your way back to your beloved Ory'Hara to begin another long journey across the galaxy. Alright, so we know very well where the Pimian system is, which is the system that has the Rimmertons in it, or the Decta Cars, as they are better known in the Auroran Empire. And once again, we're probably going to have something of a fight waiting for us, so true to form, true to proper Auroran form. We have a couple challengers, looks like just 4 ships. Yep, they're all flagged with Duelist, which means they are here just for us, and we also have carte blanche to blow them up. They're not protected by, Auroran, I would say hospitality, or Auroran customs, I should probably say. But this is a good chance to use our torpedoes, and it really shows why the Polaris are kind of nuts. Just watch their armor and shields go down as I fire these. Also, the range. The range is insane. The downside is you're not afforded too many of them, and so, as you see, we've run out already. Now, we're not going to blow up any of the Decta Car ships, because we don't want to make them mad in that way. Nah, I'm kidding, we're going to blow them up anyway. They're Aurorans, they should be prepared for death. But we do want to get down to that planet before the backup fleet arrives. Alright. Okay, so I think we can swing around and do a modified little horseshoe maneuver here. The problem is their railguns are so good. Auroran technology is too strong. Alright. Discretion is, in fact, the better part of valor. So while our brave Manta are fending them off, we're going to go to... what's a nice safe system? Let's go to Sol. How I love the multi-jump organ. Ah, they got us. Alright. They won that one fair and square. So, we've proved that it takes one Auroran fleet to deal with a single Polaris Scarab, thus proving the blurb we read when we bought the Scarab to be completely accurate. So let's load back in. We won't let them get the jump on us this time. Oh, I was about to say I'll land again to get a afterburner, but they actually don't like us too much. Okay. Maybe we should just try to be quick about this and let our Mantas take the heat when we go in for a landing. That's exactly what we're going to do, but I will back them up a little bit, go down to 1x speed, so I hopefully have a little bit more control over what's happening here. It didn't work too well. I do like that the weapon turns everything this lovely shade of purple, though. Alright, we're having a little bit of trouble here. But I don't want to have to grind for protective equipment on a video, because I don't think that's terribly interesting to watch, quite frankly. Ooh, this time they decided that we deserve attacking before we even leave the system. Well then. Alright, you know what we're going to do? We're going to go and buy an afterburner, because it is a necessary piece of equipment, and it's going to make all this way easier. So I think Tekel is a good place to do that. Sure enough, there are even Aurorans here, but they're not going to bother us. And there's the afterburner. Whoops, no, not the solar panel. The afterburner. There we go. It's not going to do, like, miracles for us, because this is a larger and slower ship, but we're going to take every little advantage we can get. Alright, so once again, I'm going to tell them to go in and attack, and we are just going to make a beeline for the planet. Because they will bring in extra fleets and reinforcements, and this is just the smarter move. Once again, you spend your time in hyperspace teaching both Drengar and Mustetten more about their warrior arts. You find that the more you work with them, the easier it is for you to merge with the universe with your mind, and make it work to your will. Both of your students are awestruck when you reveal to them that the lucky weaves that seem to spring up of their own accord around you were really of your creation. Once again, you sense a hostile reception awaiting for you when you land, and both you and Drengar head to the hatch to once again prove yourselves to the Aurorans. Outside, you are met by 10 young warriors who immediately launch themselves at you, revealing their mastery of combat by throwing extremely complex weaves at you in an almost incomprehensible pattern. Without thinking, you immediately merge with the universe, and after a few moments of graceful violence, 9 of these men lay dead at your feet, with Drengar standing over the 10th, shaking his head in awe. An elderly warrior steps forward, and you sense his keen intelligence through the tight control he maintains over the weaves around him. He bows deeply in acknowledgement of your skill. We had heard that one whose strength was immeasurable had entered the Empire, he begins solemnly. Now we see that the stories of your skill were, if anything, understated, rather than the reverse. I am Dunacht, eldest living Decta Car, and I am honored to have met you. I understand that you're here representing the Polaris, he asks, looking inquiringly at you. Both you and Drengar indicate Mustetten with subtle weaves, and Junak turns his attention to the Mahari. We were told by a man named Eamon Flanagan that you might be the people to see regarding a few matters, shrugs Mustetten quietly. Perhaps we could sit down and talk. Arkandar's honor is impeccable, nods Dunak. He weaves Mustetten over. Come, we will talk. I guess we'll wait in the bar, comments Drengar Riley, and you laugh. You sense that every warrior in this room is trying to observe you without making it obvious. You decide to merge with the universe and cause an enormous hurricane of weaves centered on you to appear as if by chance. You cannot help but smile at the astounded expressions all over the room. After recovering his composure, Drengar shakes his head, smiling. Stop showing off, Ory'Hara, he chuckles. You sense that every warrior in the room is rocked to their very core with your display of mastery over the universe. Not long after, you sense the approach of Mustetten. Well, things are getting interesting, he tells you after he sits down. I have learned that those Decta Cars are a group of warriors that have no loyalty to any house, only to the Empire as a whole. From what I've been able to gather from the other warriors I have talked with, they are thought of very highly by the warriors of the 5 houses, which surprises me given that they don't have much respect for each other. Now, getting back to the business at hand, Mustetten continues. Dunak was unwilling to talk about what all the Auroran activity was about, but I could tell he was more than a little suspicious about it, and not completely happy with it. He was, however, more than happy to give me the coordinates of the Heron system. He intimated that the Heron house might be the best people to ask regarding the recent actions by the Aurorans, he explains in a low voice, leaning forward. Apparently, they are sworn enemies of the Moash house who are the first family, which means that while they have pledged to support the first house, and they fight along the first family warriors every day against the enemies of the Empire, they actively fight against those same warriors trying to undermine the position of the Moash house. If anybody would be willing to talk with us about what's going on, Mustetten concludes quietly, the Heron house would be it. So perhaps unsurprisingly, the player is going to interact with the Heron house. Also, now that we've done that, we are very well liked in most of the Empire, the exception being the Vela house and the Moash house. And that's a little bit interesting because the Vela house is actually sworn enemies of the Moash house. So you would think that, if the Moash house didn't like us, they would. The enemy of my enemy is my friend and all that. Alright, so there are some Heron duelists, but they are going to leave us alone. Thankfully. Once again, after many long days of training in hyperspace, you sense a hostile reception as you maneuver your way into dock. As you and Drengar make your way out of the hatch, you are slightly surprised to see a single man, bare to the waist, with a stylized bird tattooed on his face, and hundreds of other small tattoos covering his body waiting for you. Your surprise evaporates when you sense the complexity of his weaves. The only time you have seen weaves like this were when you were in the presence of Master Arando. I cannot defeat this man, states Drengar quietly, and you nod, indicating that he should remain on board the ship. You step out of the hatch and merge with the universe, sensing the patterns of your opponent's weaves around you. In a surprise move, he attacks with deadly skill. You are forced to draw upon all of your abilities to twist his weaves back on him again and again, slowly forcing him to lose ground until with a single movement of almost poetic power, you knock him unconscious. Well, that was deftly done. After a moment of stunned silence, someone calls for a bucket of water. A young warrior runs forward and splashes the unconscious warrior, who immediately awakens. He slowly stands and turns to face you. I am Tekarak, Thurakir of the Heron House, he introduces himself. And until today, I had not been beaten in over 40 years. You are truly a warrior among warriors. Ah, good old Tekarak. You nod, accepting his compliment before introducing yourself and your 2 companions, adding that Mustetten has a number of questions that he wants to ask the elders of the Heron House. Come this way, Tekarak tells Mustetten quietly. I will present you to the Council of Elders myself. After the 2 of them disappear into the crowd, you sense Drengar walk over. You are more than a warrior among warriors, Ory'Hara, he says reverently. You are a master among masters. Not even Arando could have defeated that man so easily. You shake your head and say that you're going to wait in the bar for the return of Miss Denton. As you sit sipping your drink and chatting with Drengar, you sense the imminent arrival of Miss Denton. I have a message from Miranda, he tells you after he sits down. Firstly, I will be staying here for a while to learn as much as I can from the elders of the Heron House. Secondly, it appears the Aurorans are launching battle group level attacks in an attempt to distract Federation intelligence from a major attack to come soon. Although the Heron elders are more than a little suspicious of the motives behind the Moash House setting this in motion, they believe that the Moash elders have some ulterior motives for it all. But, as yet, they have been able to prove nothing. He turns to Drengar. Are you willing to stay also? I ask because Auroran politics is something of a violent business, and I may not have the skill I need to defend myself. Plus, of course, Tekarak noticed you earlier today, and commented you are a very talented student, and he would be honored to train with you. Drengar nods impassively, but you can sense his excitement beneath his calm exterior. I would be honored to stay here with you, he replies softly. They both turn to you, and, after an awkward moment, you realize that they are trying to say goodbye. You shake your head and smile at their reverence, remembering when you were just a struggling freighter captain working out of Port Kane. You stand and wordlessly shake the hands of both Polarans before heading back to the docking bay to prepare your beloved Ory'Hara for another long journey. This time back to Ory'Hara in Polaris space. As you walk along, you cannot help but feel a sense of awe emanating from the people you see. You are more than a little grateful when you finally make it back to your ship. Heading out into space, you breathe a sigh of relief, glad to be away from such worship. You point your ship in the direction of Ory'Hara and begin your long, lonely journey back. That's kind of sad. That you had these two companions, you went on a wild road trip through Heron space. Auroran space. Should be Heron space. The rightful first family. And now they're gone. Now you are once again alone. Kind of a repeating theme in EV Nova. Most notably in the Velos campaign, where the player also feels very alone, albeit for different reasons. That's a campaign I'd actually like to revisit after we've done all 6, because with that and the Pirate campaign, I was not a Knight of the Red Branch when we did those, so there might be further hidden dialogue if we interact with Eamon Flanagan during them. Okay, you sense the bubbly spirit of Miranda even before you land, and she greets you with her vivacious smile when you exit your ship. It's good to see you again, Ory'Hara, she exclaims, smiling. How did things go in Auroran space? As the two of you walk along, you give her a rough outline of the events of the journey, skipping over the details of the various fights you had a part in before concluding with the message from Miss Denton. After you finish, she stops and looks at you thoughtfully. Modesty definitely becomes you, Ory'Hara, but don't think I haven't heard reports of your deeds, she tells you after a long pause. It seems that you've reached a level that only the Velos of old could have ever dreamed of. Orando openly acknowledges you as a master too, and he doesn't do that lightly. Both he and some of his fellow masters have all reported feeling the fabric of the universe change every time you do whatever it is you are able to do. You cannot help but sense the beginning of the now familiar feeling of awe emanating from Miranda, and you smile a lonely, empty smile. In that moment you realize that you're becoming a person apart, a figure of legend. Never before have you felt so alone. You tell Miranda that you need some time alone to clear your head, so that you can better appreciate everything that has happened to you in recent months. Of course, she agrees quietly. You become so much larger than life, that sometimes even I forget that you're just a man who has been given extraordinary abilities and been thrust into an extraordinary situation. Take all the time you need. If I have anything for you, I will try to make contact with you wherever you are. You thank her and take your leave, wishing that, if only for a short while, your life could go back to the way it was before you became Ory'Hara. So that's a little sad. And so, true to form, we have a generic delay before our next mission. And I think we should take that opportunity to do a little bit of trading. We don't have too much time left in the episode, so I think this is a nice way to cap it off, and that way we can get those oh-so-precious Sigma upgrades on our ship. Although what I want to do first is we did promise the engineers and scientists that we would stop up at the bar in their system, the Paet. So let's do that first. Because I think, at some point, they're going to want us to do something about the crypt pods. Or the cryptoch, as the Velos would say. And sure enough, I guess we'll be doing that. As you make your way to the bar, you sense the familiar presence of Pagena waiting for you long before you walk in the door. When you do enter, he stands up and waves you over to his table. I'm glad you stopped by, Ory'Hara, he says after you exchange greetings, as we find ourselves being a bit of a bother. None of our analyses have helped us get any closer to solving the mysteries of the crypt. The only thing we've been able to do is verify that what Lyril said about the crypt pods being made of nanites is true. Other than that, we keep running up against dead ends. We were wondering, he continues almost pleadingly, if you go on another journey for us to see if we can gather some more information. I warn you, this mission may be very dangerous. Yeah, danger is our middle name. Thank you, Ory'Hara, Pagena tells you sincerely after you agree to help out. Probably don't know this, but most Paea are grateful for you for starting the recent boom in advancements due to the opening of the border with the Wraith, led by your efforts, and your recent contact with the Aurorans. What we want you to do, he explains, getting down to business, is locate the homeworld of the Velos, which goes by the same name. We know it is located somewhere to the northwest of what is now Federation space, but our ancient records are a bit sketchy, so unfortunately we can't be any more specific. We hope that this crypt is as curious as the Velos claim it is, he tells you quietly, that it will somehow try to make contact with you. Of course, we know this might be dangerous, but if anyone alive, you are perhaps the most capable of dealing with any danger it might present. When you've finished, he finishes a little tiredly, return here with your findings. Alright, so we are going to do that, but we're going to save that for next episode. For this episode, I think we're going to do a little bit of trading, trying to beef up our coffers a little bit. Hey, it's Matt Birch. Hey, Matt Birch, and his, this just says Elite, 3-leet, I don't know. But EV Nova is all thanks to Matt. I think I took a wrong term at Patchfire. And true to form, he's actually flying a ship from the original EV Nova, original Escape Velocity game, the Kestrel, which has been, I believe, in all 3 games. Made you got the ball rolling, which led to this fantastic game, Matt. And for that, I am definitely grateful. Now, if only it could be updated to work reliably on modern hardware. That'd be nice. Because, as Mac users would know, if you no longer have PowerPC support, which hasn't been a thing on a Mac OS X for a while, you can't run the game, it's unfortunate, but just how it is. Alright, so let's hire 2 Pegasi. Yeah, 2 Pegasi should be enough. And let's load up on medical supplies, and we'll do the bog standard route down to New Ireland. Okay, so that's too many medical supplies. That would cause us to lose our escorts as soon as we take off. Here, this is definitely a... Oof. No, that's not a safe barrier. I was going to say, that's a safe barrier. We'll leave ourselves enough slosh room there to pave the ships. Yeah, we're going to need more than that. Let's give ourselves... Yeah, let's give ourselves that much, because I don't know... It should just take 2 days to get down to Tautha, but I'm not going to take any risks here. Losing a ship full of trade goods because you can't pay them it's just awful. It's an awful feeling. Alright. And now it's time for profit. Boom. Delicious, delicious profit. Alright. And we're going to buy the Guinness that we need to make the trip back up. Once again, I'm going to sell to 200,000 credits so we can make sure to pay our vessels and take it back to Seoul. And this is, you might recognize, the trade route that they teach you in the tutorial, and it is actually one of the most reliable ones in Federation space. Now, there is one that is even better in Polaris space, but it takes place between 2 planets in the same system, and it does kind of feel a little bit unfair because, well, let's put it this way, it was taken out in the final patch of the game, but I don't think Windows ever got that patch, so, oh well. And so we're just going to do this for a little bit. The idea is we want to have enough credits to buy the Sigma upgrades, and that way we can have the electrical rewiring, the engine tune-up. I don't really care too much about the one that adds extra mass onto your ship. I mean, it'd be nice, certainly, but it's definitely not a requirement. Instead, we're going to be prioritizing the ones that, you know, give us better turn rate, better shields. Now, I'm not sure how much profit we're actually making with these Pegasi. I wonder if this has a point of diminishing returns associated with it. That, or maybe I'm just impatient. but we'll do a little bit of a test. So we'll land and sell our goods. So we have 1.92 million. Someone remember that, because I certainly won't. Okay, we are making a decent profit, because we weren't able to buy up to maximum medical goods. So 1.92 million, and then we'll zip down to Tautha and see how much we make running the medical goods, then we'll run up luxury goods and see how much we make doing one complete route. So, selling the medical goods for high, we go from 1.92 to 2.30, it's not bad. Buy the maximum amount of luxury goods, because now we can do that. And see how much that increases from our original 1.92 million. The horizontal booster just makes a world of difference in being able to jump from closer to the planetary center, or the system center. Alright, moment of truth. Okay, so we do almost make 1 million credits in profit. That's not bad. And clearly that means we should expand our little enterprise here. We can't get the Leviathan yet. That would definitely bankrupt us, just because of the sheer amount of cargo it can hold. Now, I think I will continue this off camera, because you probably aren't too interested in seeing me run the same trade route for a couple more minutes. But I hope you enjoyed this episode so far. I certainly enjoy making these, and we're actually getting kind of close to the end. So I think it's going to be either, it's probably going to be about 2 more episodes, and we'll be wrapping up the Polaris campaign. Alright, so we're going to call it here on New Ireland. When I come back with the next episode, we'll probably have, probably another, we'll have up to 10 million credits, I think. I'll go up to that and stop there. Just running the same route. Trust me, you're not going to miss anything. Alright, so if you're still looking for more EV Nova to watch, please check out one of the other storylines up on the channel. We also have some of the side missions up there. If you like something in particular in this episode, please leave it in the comments down below. I also take critiques on my Polarian pronunciation. My Auroran pronunciation, however, is definitely perfect. It's been practiced over the entirety of the Auroran storyline, so go watch that. And until next time, I hope you have a good one.